I want to take you back for a moment. Imagine a bright and sunny day and you're running back home from school, excited to play with your friends. Maybe there's a hot snack waiting for you, holidays with cousins, grumbling over homework, fighting over who gets to handle the remote, being tucked into a warm bed. This is security, and it is built on structure, routine, a sense of belonging, being loved and cared for. And yes, I had all of these. And yet, my story writes itself a little different. Because alongside the good food and the warm bed, there was a constant whispered reminder that I was not quite like everyone else. You see, as a child, I was diagnosed with atopic eczema and wheezing. And I was told that the sun, pollen, dust were all my enemies. I was not allowed to have chocolate, popcorn, and a lot of things that kids generally love. As I grew older, I also started to observe that certain temperatures didn't agree with me, and even wearing certain textures of clothing could result in very painful sores. Now, did this break me down? Of course, it did. I hurt like anyone else would. And my insecurities started to grow like a shadow. I started to notice all the things that I could not do and how I was different from society's idea of perfection. This is a feeling you might be familiar with, and I hear it in the stories of my clients almost every day. I'm not smart enough. I'm not earning enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not worthy enough to make the cut. I too used to speak to myself with the same conditional language, and it alienated me from opportunities, friendships, love, and even myself. I really wanted to be liked, but I was terrified of being loved, because what if they saw who I really am? Now we live in a world where AI is being used for a lot of things, even to replace therapy. What I'm about to share with you today are experiences of my own and those of my clients. It's also one of the reasons I strongly believe in the power of people to heal people. You see, AI doesn't have insecurities. People do. AI doesn't hurt. People do. AI isn't terrified of society. We are. That is the difference between us. That is also our power, because the very thing that makes us flawed is also what makes us capable of true connection and genuine transformation. So here are 6 transformations that I experienced once I stopped battling my insecurities and began to harness them for my growth. And I call them my 6 pillars of strength. The first was my transformation from sympathy to empathy. My insecurities became a superpower when I stopped pitting myself and treating myself like a victim. You see, when you have a lack, you truly understand what a lack feels like. So every time in a session with a client or to a family member or friend that I said, hey, I understand, I really did. Let's have a show of hands, and I would really love for you to participate with me. How many of you here in the audience have ever experienced a fear of failure? You can raise your hands up. Or have felt that you could have maybe dressed better or communicated better. Maybe you disliked a physical attribute. Look around. We are all limited. And empathy allows you to see these vulnerabilities, acknowledge them, coexist with them, but not if you are ashamed of them. The shift from sympathy to empathy. This brings me to my second transformation, which is shift from shame to humility. For far too long, I dreamt of a different life, one that wasn't shadowed by my health concerns. What if I could travel effortlessly, look like a magazine cover, sing like Beyoncé? For years, I called myself average. And I struggled to accept positive feedback, which only deepened old scars and even created new wounds that will take far too long to heal. Now, through my clients, I came to see this profound beauty in average. I want to share an example with you, with my client's permission, of course, to illustrate this. So she came from a family of highly accomplished working professionals, and she chose a career that was very different from their expectations. Her first 3 years of college was riddled with academic and professional setbacks, even a painful heartbreak. An unexpected breakthrough happened in therapy when a friend of hers also began sessions, and they began to share insights and offer one another emotional support. And I could see this powerful transformation inside her. In a moment of profound humility, she told me, "Doc, what if this is the hard reality that I have to face? What if I'm not great at designing and it's going to take the smart one in the family a couple more attempts to pass her papers?" What a wonderful moment. Right there, she chose to accept her suffering with dignity rather than hiding behind shame. Now, this concept is beautifully outlined in a book by Viktor Frankl called A Man's Search for Meaning. However, the shift from the trap of shame to the choice of humility requires another transformation, which is the move from being critical to reflective. For one truly searches for meaning when one is lost. So every time a client asks me, am I making these choices because I'm not good enough? Am I self-sabotaging my career because I don't think I deserve good things? Am I constantly putting her down because I'm envious of her career? They're not being critical. They're reflective. And in that space, there will be room for growth. I met a young woman at a cafe in Mumbai a couple of years ago, and she was very visibly irritated by my numerous attempts to take a picture of her, which she had asked me, of course. While exiting the cafe, she told me, "Sorry, auntie," and that term, auntie, still haunts me till date. She told, "Sorry, auntie, I just wanted a good picture for my social media." Now, we spend so much of time carefully curating a perfect image of ourselves, all the while hiding who we truly are. What stops us from owning up to our limitations? Reflection helps us to look beyond this curated image and see our genuine selves. Criticism comes from a place of fear, which brings me to my next transformative experience, and the one from being fearful to fierce and resilient. In my 20s, I lost a relationship that I considered my everything. I'm sure some of you could relate to this. Every day I was haunted by the question, what if they saw my flaws? And so I covered it up, layer by layer, only showing what I thought was worthy, what I thought would be acceptable, even overcompensating, desperate to be enough. And in doing so, my love was fueled by fear. Years later, I revisited this relationship in therapy, and I came to a crucial realization. Yes, there had been fear, but there was also something else. I had loved fiercely. I had cared deeply. I had nurtured lovingly. I began to ask a different question. What if the next time I could do the very same things, but not from a fear of abandonment or rejection, but because I want to, and I can? Research shows a negative relationship between insecurity and resilience, which means the greater your insecurities, the more you subject your mind and your body to stress, which further erodes your resilience. In fact, prolonged insecurity can even lead to mental health concerns like anxiety and depression. I want to push this idea one step further. What if we could look past or look beyond building resilience and become secure in our insecurities? What if we were not afraid to own up to those flaws or those gaps that we see? I remember a client choosing a college because he felt he would be the best in that space, rather than several other colleges that made him an offer where he felt that his sense of value would be challenged. Fear. And it can interfere with growth. And that brings me to my next transformative experience and the shift from feeling closed to being more open to growth. You see, when you acknowledge your insecurities, there is a powerful shift that happens inside. You become more open to asking for support without feeling ashamed. Let me give you an example, a personal and somewhat embarrassing example. I can't cook. I admit it. And for years, this was something I was ashamed about. My sense of taste and kitchen common sense, for the lack of better words, is just terrible. I struggled to accept feedback, and I even had difficulty with beliefs like I'm not a good wife, I'm not a good mom. It was only when I started to accept this to myself, to my family, and especially my husband, he definitely needed to know what he's getting himself into, that I started to notice a transformation within me. I was open to asking for support, getting help, receiving feedback, unsolicited advice, without feeling ashamed. You see, my limitations, my insecurities, they did not limit me. They've in fact widened my horizons. They've led me to a career where I can stand one with my clients and not above them. They help me seek a partner who helps me stay as close as possible to my love of music. Maybe I can't sing that well myself. Insecurity is a catalyst for change. It's just telling you to slow down, reassess, work on a lack if you have, and ask for support if you want to. Can each of you think of a time when you experienced a lack and you worked on something? Even if you made a plate of upama, in that moment, you grew. Acknowledging your insecurities does not limit you. It in fact makes you move to the next stage, which is being more authentic. There is this beautiful concept in Gestalt psychology called as wholeness. You are more than the sum of the parts. You are more than the parts of you that you dislike. Being it a painful memory, you're more than that. I remember someone telling me that they were secretly happy when something did not go well for a person close to them. I have worked with couples where one partner secretly prefers the other to be less secure, thus giving them an illusion of power. Now, these are not malicious individuals. They are lovely human beings who just have an unhealthy relationship with their insecurity. What if we weren't afraid to acknowledge all of this, and the gap between who we are and who we are portraying ourselves to be becomes smaller, making us more equipped to cross that gap? What if we could extend self-love to the whole of us, not just the parts that we like? What if we could choose to reparent ourselves and tell that inner critic, you are enough? My insecurities are a part of me. They may always be a part of me, but they are only dangerous if I let them be. What holds us back from having these transformations? I believe there are 3 steps to it. One, on one side, we have society's narratives of what is acceptable or not. We also have our own internal narratives, what we tell ourselves about what is acceptable or not. Now, we may not be able to change society's narratives immediately, but can we begin with language that helps us to acknowledge our insecurities without feeling ashamed of them? When we speak this way, we stop fighting a battle and are able to just coexist with these insecurities. I stand here today bearing testimony to the power of insecurity, not to break us, but to shape us into empathetic, reflective, authentic individuals who are capable of growth, transformation, and love. I want to leave you with a poem, a gentle reminder that every lack and every limitation may be a part of a larger purpose. Be strong, dear heart, for if you could only see how every wound, scar, and lack also shaped me. In pain you found strength, in tears a release. If you could silence that inner critic, you could move forward with ease. Don't hide behind shadows, for you are meant to shine, like clay that's sculpted and molded into something divine. You are a work in progress. Be patient and kind. Be open to transformation and accept any flaws that you may find. Pay attention to your insecurities, for when they speak for you, they just tell you a different story, maybe something you never knew. Be strong, dear heart, for if you could only see the reasons these things were meant to be. Thank you.